Hey, what's up my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to talk about the decluttering phase of your spiritual awakening process. So this phase is to essentially describe the systematic breakdown of the life that you created while living it unconsciously. And if you're anything like me, you might be experiencing an increasing awareness of the massive freaking wake and mess that you have to deal with. This can be taken literally. Maybe you're moving out of a house that you have a lot of things and unnecessary crap you've collected that you're sorting through. This could be looked at energetically or within relationships and with your everything. Unconscious lives produce actual life experience on all levels that will start to become seen as more and more and more and more unsatisfactory, unideal, undesirable. And you're going to feel called and guided to start creating a new life. But at the same time, for a long time actually, you're going to be simultaneously breaking down and dealing with the fallout of your previous one. This is like, one could argue the decluttering phase of awakening is the whole freaking thing. And you go through periods where it's more active, but sometimes you go through like periods where it's like, that's like the primary theme, where you're just doing nothing but like decluttering on all levels. And I'm going to talk about that and how to manage that, because it's sort of an interesting phenomenon. You might have realized that you might find that, okay, you're cleaning out a basement, right? Maybe you're putting in an hour a day and it's slightly, maybe a little physically demanding, but you cleaning out that basement, that's a metaphor. That's like a physical representation of you cleaning out your vibration. So when you do it, when you actually apply yourself in the direction of decluttering a basement that it's now become time to deal with, you're also drastically decluttering your vibration. So that there's a lot of energy involved in these simple mundane tasks, and they can really bring forth a lot of inner shifts and transformation and emotional upheaval and physical fatigue that you might not have anticipated cleaning a simple basement out. So that's why I'm kind of talking about this, because someone who's awakening and metaphorically cleaning out their life in a physical way is going to have a very unique experience. So I'm going to talk about how to best navigate through this thing, this weird thing that you go through. I've gone through it on many different times. And in the beginning, I would allow it to, I would burn myself out 100%. I would just get myself flat out exhausted, emotionally like drained and just miserable. And it really has the potential, if you're too hasty like I am, to really cause a lot of unnecessary stress. So I'm going to talk about that, hopefully help you guys avoid that. Number one is to kind of remind you, maybe you've experienced this, maybe not. This is kind of how it goes. When you like set yourself to the decluttering, like for example, I'm kind of going through this again in my own little RV, which is why I'm making this video. It felt like relevant. So even though we're in an RV, me and 3 children, a wife and 2 pets, a little dog and a cat, we live in a decent sized RV, but it's an RV nonetheless. We live in a little camper. And on one hand, we're like extreme minimalists, but we still somehow have created a lot of unnecessary clutter. And now we're kind of going back through as it's becoming brought to our awareness that, hey, declutter, man, you got too much crap in there. You got to get some feng shui energy going in here, because it's draining you. You're getting lost again in the world of the externals. So I'm doing my own decluttering. And here's how it's kind of going, and I bet you can relate. It's when it's time to declutter, you become obnoxiously aware of just to the extent of the mess you have to clean up. And it can be very overwhelming. Like everywhere you look, there's just so much to do, so much to deal with, and you're already exhausted and emotionally spent, and you don't know how it's ever going to get done. And there's that sense of like urgency the whole time, so it's easy to get burnt out. But the way it goes is it's kind of like the law of attraction. You start focusing, okay, I'm going to take on this RV. I'm going to start cleaning out the cupboard. So I put my energy into it and I clean it up. But at the same time, after I get one little thing done, it's like my awareness is drawn to other areas that are also clutter. And just, even though that's efficient, it's like the higher self and the universe saying, hey, you're in this process of decluttering. Well, we're going to help you out by showing you all the different things that need decluttering. But it's like, So for a while, it can be just overwhelm. Done. You're done. Holy God, I never thought this day would come. It's an intense psychological experience, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So my suggestion is just to kind of understand that you're going to have divine assistance, in a sense, in this decluttering of your basement, and it might for a time seem overwhelming, but that's only to just keep you reminded of this, and this needs to get done. And even though it can seem overwhelming, because again, your focus is being drawn to all the areas that need to be worked on, it is a finite endeavor, and you will get done with it, and you will feel very light and good and like, oh yes, I did it. It's a very cool experience when you finally get done. Number 2 is I suggest that you pace yourself, because sort of similar to what I was talking about, it can create a feeling that doesn't go away, a sense of urgency, a sense of agitation, like you need to get this done and you need to get it done now, because that feeling is not going to go away. But many times, like for me, this would happen when I would need to move, but especially the first time. The first time I moved, it was like right after I went through my awakening, or I just became aware of the ascension and whatnot, and we said, we gotta get out of here, And at that time, we were living like the most unconsciously, to date, So when it came time to going through our house, we had the biggest house at the time, the most stuff. We were going through the most inner insanity and so much going on. And there was that strong, almost a compulsion to get it done, get out. But there was so much. And I didn't pace myself. My wife didn't either. And we were so miserable and high-strung and stressed out and exhausted. It took us like months, not months, but like a month or so, honestly, to recover physically from this accelerated moving out of the house thing we had to go through. It had the feeling like, you got to get this all done today. But you have to learn to go to bed with that feeling of anxiety. Because if you don't learn to kind of live with it, it's going to be there. Just so you don't get lazy and forget, like, you got a job to do. We're going to be here to annoy you. But that doesn't mean to be taken so literally and to just exhaust yourself, because that's not the best way to go about it. You might be able to bust your ass for 12 hours straight, but if you have nothing left in the tank for 3-4 days and you got to recover, it's not a good way to do it. Put in 3 or 4 hours or so when you're fresh, when you're, write a list. Just really be more systematic and pace yourself. Number 3, this is kind of how I work a lot of things in my life now, because I'm very naturally ADD and impulsive and sort of like an abstract thinker, but that doesn't always necessarily translate to a pleasant earthly experience, which does sometimes demand some careful planning. So when it comes time to this sort of decluttering phase, I would plan. I would make some sort of a schedule and a plan and stick to it as a way of kind of programming yourself to turn it off, because you can get into it. There's a lot of momentum that gets into it, and you're going to feel like, oh, just a little more. But again, it's real easy to go way over the edge and to experience extreme levels of burnout, which is even though you put in an extra 20 minutes, you got to rest a week now. So make a plan and stick to it. And I know this sounds like kind of like commonsensical and simple. Maybe it is for you. It wasn't for me, and I didn't do it in the beginning, and I caused myself just so much stress, because again, I would burn myself out. And what happens when you're exhausted and you're fatigued, you're irritable, and then you say things you don't mean, you lash out on your loved one, then you feel guilty, and that weighs you down, and you still got this stuff to do. It can really spiral quickly if you don't learn to kind of acknowledge that you're in a process that's very energizing and energetic, and it's going to really, you got to kind of play it differently than you would a normal everyday situation, because it has no mercy. It says you got to burn out, go ahead. Fine. You're the one trying to adjust to this energy. We're just energy. Number 4 is balance, rest, and recovery and recuperation with physical output. I'm telling you right now, the best way to accomplish this with the minimal amount of stress is to manage your energy. And the way you once manage your energy is going to be completely different. Again, there's intense emotions fueling you. Like, I got to get this done. There's a lot of energy involved when you put in work. When you clean out a closet, there's like a energetic, like whooshing effect in your vibration in your body, and that in itself, aside from the physical labor, can leave you very drained, very exhausted. As you make room in your life, in your closet, you also make room for new emotions to come up and purge out. And that there's so many different elements of stress and exhaustion involved with you deconstructing your old life. It's not just about the physical activity itself. You might experience it. Say you got to go on to you feel inspired to declutter your laptop. Well, you're just sitting there. You're not doing anything, and you might find yourself just mentally just completely burnt out and exhausted because that laptop is nothing more than a prop and a metaphor for the vibrational decluttering you're doing. This summer, this year, this ascension is fast. A lot of speed, a lot of energy, a lot on your plate, a lot to do. A lot to fit into your already stretched out schedule. I'm telling you that it's so easy to get overwhelmed and burnt out when you deny that you are going through a process. I know it's inconvenient, I know it can be frustrating, and it just seems like so many of these demands come at inopportune times, but it is what it is. There is a plan involved, and I know you all sense that. And I keep beating the dead horse, but essentially it's so helpful to just acknowledge and honor the fact that you're in a process and manage yourself accordingly to minimize the stress. So I hope this helps you in some way. I believe it will. I believe a lot of you might find yourself, especially this summer, going through a lot of physical demands placed on you, maybe mental as well. Anyways, guys, I will speak to you tomorrow. I have some decluttering to do in my RV. Have an amazing day. Namaste.